Hi, this is Ryan over at Vacation Rental Bookkeeping, and today I want to do a quick video about how you can collect sales and lodging taxes through the Airbnb system. When Airbnb first started, they really didn't have anything to do with any sales or lodging taxes. They didn't collect any, and if you owed them, you pretty much had to just increase your rent by however much the taxes were so that you weren't having to take it out of your profits. After quite some time, Airbnb started to develop agreements and relationships with certain governments, certain states and local governments, where Airbnb would start collecting the tax, and they would actually remit it themselves. So you didn't have to do anything with it. You didn't receive the tax. Airbnb just collected it and sent it right to the taxing authority for you. And so they started, when guests booked on Airbnb, they would start to see a line right here for occupancy taxes, but that was not money that you received. They just did it for you, and it works out pretty nice. But unfortunately, they don't have agreements with all of the locations, all the states, and different local governments. And so if you're in an area where Airbnb doesn't have that agreement, then you are still forced to pretty much raise your rent, your nightly rate, so that your nightly rate would include enough for you to be able to pay your tax. So just fairly recently, recording this in July of 2019, Airbnb has added a system for some locations that you can now start to charge taxes, which has been long awaited for. So actually now, if Airbnb doesn't already collect tax in your area, you can actually set it up so that this line will show up for guests, and Airbnb will calculate the tax due, collect it from the guest, and send it to you so that you can remit it to the taxing authority. Now, like I said, this is only available in certain locations right now. From what I can tell, it seems like if Airbnb does collect tax in your area, then it's not available for you. You might think, well, you wouldn't need it, but there are some places, like Tennessee, for example, where Airbnb does collect the Tennessee sales tax, but they do not have agreements with the different counties and cities within Tennessee that charge hotel occupancy taxes. And so you may wish that you could charge those here. As far as I can tell, as of the time this is recorded, they're not allowing you to set that up yet. But in areas where Airbnb does not collect and remit any tax at all, for example, in Hawaii, again, at least at the time of this recording, Airbnb does not collect or remit any taxes for Hawaii, but taxes are due. And so those of you in Hawaii, you could actually start to add this line item to your Airbnb listing, and it will charge this designated amount as tax and send this amount to you so that you can receive that, and then you can remit that for your, in Hawaii, it's the GET and the TAT tax. So in this video, we're going to just tell you how to get that set up. I'm referencing this article from Airbnb. You can see the link to it here, and I will post that in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. But I'll reference this article here, but you can look it up if you want to see more details. All right, so once you're logged into Airbnb, you can go up to the host menu at the top, and then in the drop-down, click on listings. That will take you to a list of your properties. And so find the property that you would like to add tax to and click on that property. And it will take you to a page similar to this, where you have different menu options available. Go ahead and click on the menu option that says Local Taxes and Laws. Once you click on that, you should come to a screen that looks similar to this. Now, if you get to this point and your screen says something like Airbnb already collects taxes in your location, then you probably will not see this new button here that's called Add a Tax. If you don't see this button called Add a Tax, then this feature is not available in your location yet. Hopefully they'll improve this even more and make this available to everybody soon. But right now, some people now have this ability to add a tax here. So if you're not seeing this, then it must not be available quite yet in your area. But if you do see this and you do need to start charging a tax, you can go ahead and set this up. First, they're going to ask you about your license or registration number, and I think that's going to differ depending on your area. If you reference that article I just showed you a moment ago, and that is the link is down in the comments, you can see more about what to put in that section. After you have that set up, go ahead and click on Add a Tax, and you should see a screen like this. All right, under tax type, you'll see a drop down, and you want to just pick the description that is closest to the tax that you need to charge. They have different options here. You may not see exactly what your tax is called, but you want to pick the one that's closest to what you are calling it. And basically here, this is the screen that the guest sees when they book, what they're going to be charged. In this line right here, if they click on this little question mark, they're going to see whatever you pick right here. So it's always going to say occupancy taxes and fees, but this information button here will give them whatever you decide to pick right here. So pick the one that best fits your situation. And also keep in mind that you can add a second one. So you could set up a hotel tax, and then later you could set up a room tax if you need to have more than one. So go ahead and choose that, and then go to the next menu here, and you're going to choose what type of charge. So right now they have 4 different options. You can set up a percentage tax, or you can do a flat fee per number of guests, a fee per number of guests per night. So if you had 2 guests for 3 nights, that would be 6 times whatever fee you set up. Or you can do a fee per night. So choose the one that fits the tax you're trying to set up. And then over here, type in the percentage rate or the flat dollar amount. If you pick one of these, this will change to a dollar sign, and you can type in the dollar amount. So if you had a 6% hotel occupancy tax, you would pick the percentage and put in 6%. If you had a $2.50 per night tax, you would do fee per night, put in $2.50. All right, and then as you scroll down, you'll see they're going to ask for your business tax ID. And again, if you reference the document that I put a link to, you can see more details about what you should maybe put here. I think they ask for your EIN number here if you're in the United States, and then this will be more of the tax number for whoever you're remitting the sales or lodging tax to. All right, some taxes have an exemption for longer term bookings, so you can set that up here. If your tax does not apply to bookings over 30 days, you can click yes, and then it'll ask you how many days, what is the cutoff for a long-term and a short-term stay. So you can set that up if that applies to you, and then go ahead and accept the terms and conditions and click Save. Once you do that, you'll return to this screen, and then you'll see listed here the lodging tax that you set up or whatever one you picked. So here I set up a lodging tax of 6.5% on each booking. All right, and then you'll still see the Add a Tax button. So if you have another tax, like I was saying, you can go ahead and set that up. You can put more than one here. So you might have one that's a percent tax and one that's a per night tax. You could also use this if you had, maybe you had a percent tax that does not have a limit for long-term bookings, and then you have another percent tax that does. So you could add 2 taxes there if that helps fit your situation better. Right. Also notice this note that comes up here, remembering that you probably had previously increased your rent in order to cover these taxes. So now that you've added a tax, you probably want to go back and edit your nightly rates and lower those down to what you actually want to receive per night. So now you don't have to inflate your nightly rate in order to cover your taxes. So you can go back and adjust those so that the guests are paying the same as they used to. One other note is once you activate this, for several months, you're going to have a mixture of bookings. So next month, when you take a look at your Airbnb reservations, anybody who booked prior to you setting this up obviously didn't have any tax collected. But anybody who books after you set this up will have tax collected. So next month, you may have some of your bookings that did not have any tax collected because they've already been booked, where you may have a few that were booked after you set this up. And so when you're still going to have to, obviously you're going to remit your taxes either way, but the setup is going to be different booking by booking for a while. And then once you get past all the bookings that have already been made, you'll start to see all the bookings will have tax charged as a separate line item. So maybe a little tricky as you transition through that. All right, after you set this up, when you go into a booking and look up the financial details for that booking, you'll start to see it like this. You've got your nightly rate and cleaning fee and service fee that will be deducted, but you'll see a new line item for property use taxes. And according to however you set that up, you'll see the amount charged appropriately and then a total. And this is what's different and new is now this amount actually is going to come to you if you set this up the way we talked about here in this video. So you'll actually receive that tax as a separate line item. If you download your transaction history into a CSV file and open that up, you'll see it'll look like this now. So you'll have your reservation like you always did, show the amount, the host fee was deducted, the cleaning fee was applied. But you'll see a separate line item called pass-through TOT, and I've blocked these out just to keep these bookings confidential, but you'll see the same confirmation number for both of these lines. So that will tell you that $1,706 was charged in tax for this booking, and you'll see that they paid you out the full $341.52 to your bank account. So this should be helpful and a lot more clear for your guests so they can actually see how much tax they have to pay and be better for your own records. You can actually set your rental rates for the amount that you want to not have to inflate them, and it makes the tax calculations a little tricky when you have to raise your rate and then say taxes included. We have another video on that if you still are in that situation where you have to do that. You can check that out, but it does make it a lot more complicated. This should make it a lot easier for you. One other thing I didn't mention, if you look at that article from Airbnb that I've linked below, you will see what is actually considered taxable revenue. And pretty much what you would charge. The rent is taxable and the cleaning fee is taxable. Resolution adjustments would not be taxable in their system. And that's not something you can change. They've kind of set it up how it's going to be. All right, so this again is Ryan from Vacation Rental Bookkeeping. Hope this video is helpful to you to help get this set up and make it easier for you to collect these taxes. If you have other questions about vacation rental bookkeeping, be sure to check out our website. It's vacationrentalbookkeeping.com. And as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.